Consider the possibility that the silence you've been shying away from might actually be the gateway to a strength that no crowd can provide. As Friedrich Nietzsche, philosophy's introspective maverick, once cautioned, he who cannot endure solitude has nothing to offer the crowd. He suggested that the mind resembles raw ore in a smelting process. Only when the clamor of other voices is extinguished can your true substance form. In today's exploration on the Deep Dive Psychology podcast, we are leaving the collective behind and stepping into that forge. Here, you will learn why intentional isolation swiftly dissolves false personas, how confronting your unfiltered thoughts transforms your fears into fuel, and how returning to the world for brief, incisive engagements amplifies your presence like a resonant thunderclap. By the end of this episode, you will discover the art of being alone, sufficiently long and deep to become formidable when you choose to re-engage. The initial hurdle is sheer noise. Every scroll, alert, and group chat injects others' urgencies directly into your nervous system, while your own thoughts, the raw, untamed flashes Nietzsche likened to lightning bolts from the depths, are drowned in a storm of headlines and algorithmic resonance. The collective mindset dictates your fears, your praises, and even the dreams you pursue. Immerse yourself in this cacophony long enough, and you'll lose the distinct sound of your inner voice. Nietzsche witnessed this phenomenon in the cafes of 19th century Basel, and today it's magnified 1,000-fold. Solitude begins by turning off the flood. No headphones on the commute, no mindless news before bed, no guilty pleasure podcasts to fill every silence. The first hour feels like an itch. The mind reaches for familiar distractions. Endure the discomfort. Observe how effortlessly familiar cravings arise, a swipe for approval, a reflex to share partially formed ideas for instant applause. These impulses reveal how much of your identity is sculpted by external accolades. Note each urge with a scientific detachment. No judgment, just observation. Then listen for what's left once those urges dissipate. Initially, it might be mere static, but beneath that noise lies something with greater density. Unanswered questions, goals borrowed from influences you've never met, lingering memories demanding explanation. This is your essence seeking attention. Until the noise ceases, you cannot perceive it. Lower the world's volume, and your unique frequency begins to resound again. That resonance is the raw material solitude will forge into unbreakable steel. Solitude is not a retreat, it is a crucible. Enter this forge, and the first blast is heat, boredom, unease, the itch to message someone just to hear your own digital echo. Nietzsche embraced this burn because it strips away the superficial alloys fused onto you by societal expectations and trending norms. He'd wander alone above Sils Maria for days, letting the alpine air erode every borrowed opinion from his mind until only the bedrock remained. Experiment with a 48-hour social fast to experience the furnace firsthand. Announce nothing. Disappear from group chats, set your phone to airplane mode except for genuine emergencies. On the first day, phantom vibrations haunt your pocket. You reach for the device, remember your pact, and then resist. Each restrained urge is a spark flying off the hot iron. By evening, the craving morphs into anxiety. What if I miss out? That anxiety speaks the language of the fire. It challenges whether your identity relies on the group's persistent mirror. On day 2, the intensity shifts. Without new inputs, the mind finally delves into your own backlog, uncompleted ideas, overlooked hobbies, deeply buried regrets. Let them unfold. Jot down your swirling thoughts in a notebook without filter. Patterns will emerge, ambitions that still quicken your pulse, grudges that now seem trivial, talents you'd sidelined because no one liked them online. These embers are your true priorities revealing themselves in the glow. Most individuals abandon the forge before reaching this stage, seeking relief in the crowd. Stay one night longer, stroll without earphones, cook without a podcast, drift to sleep to nothing but your own breath. As the 48 hours conclude, reintroduce noise gradually. You'll realize your compulsion for constant checking has diminished. Your internal voice is amplified, and opinions of distant onlookers weigh lighter than before. The metal is purer, tougher, and prepared for the next blow, facing the shadow self you once delegated to everyone else. Solitude transitions from heat to reflection. When external voices are silenced, the only face confronting you is your own, complete with every flaw you once attributed to circumstance or others. Nietzsche termed this confrontation staring into the abyss, warning that the abyss gazes back. What he insinuated is straightforward. The traits you censure in friends, adversaries, and former partners are frequently traits you refuse to acknowledge in yourself. In company, projection acts as a shield. Alone, projection returns to you. Dedicate an hour with a blank sheet and free from interruptions. At the top, write, "What do I most vocally condemn in others?" List each trait: indolence, arrogance, neediness, deceitfulness. Resist diluting the descriptors. Now, ask beside each, where, even in its infancy, does this exist within me? This exercise is not about self-reproach, it's about illuminating the shadow. Perhaps you scoff at a colleague's self-promotion because a quieter aspect of you longs for recognition but fears ridicule. Perhaps you roll your eyes at a friend's chronic tardiness, yet you are chronically late to fulfilling personal promises. Workouts missed, books left unfinished. Continue probing until the page stings. When discomfort reaches its peak, switch pens and script 3 harsh truths you would never confess in a crowd. The kind that constrict your throat as ink strikes paper. I gossip for inclusion. I chase achievements to avoid mediocrity. I undermine relationships just before they become genuine. These sentences puncture the virtuous persona displayed publicly. Breathe through any shame. The objective is exposure, not judgment. Next step, transform each truth into a private commitment. If gossip is your addiction, commit to a 7-day moratorium on discussing absent individuals. If the pursuit of achievement is your distraction, schedule an unproductive weekend. Demonstrate that you exist off the pedestal. If undermining relationships is your norm, pledge to remain present the next time intimacy intimidates you. Confronting shadows is painful, but it also lessens your fear of external judgment. Once you claim ownership of the most hidden corners of your psyche, critics lose their leverage. They cannot exploit what you've openly acknowledged. Nietzsche believed this self-mastery changes solitude from confinement into a fortress. Walls crafted not to exclude the world, but to safeguard your authentic self from the world's distortions. Only after this reckoning can you rejoin society unencumbered by the invisible strings that once manipulated you. Athletes recognize that muscles strengthen not during exertion but in the quiet aftermath, when torn fibers rebuild sturdier, a phenomenon named supercompensation. Ideas exhibit a similar nature. Solitude induces micro-tears in complacent conceptions, boredom stretches the intellect, silence deprives it of convenient stimulation. When finally replenished with a walk, a book, or a solitary conversation, the creative fibers rebound with greater force than they ever could amidst endless chatter. Nietzsche validated this model along the Alpine trails above Sils Maria. He'd trek for miles alone with nothing but a notebook and his pounding pulse. Those sessions of emptiness exercises were grueling, hours without accolades or distractions. But upon descent, bursts of insight came in waves. Thus Spoke Zarathustra was composed in mere weeks. Entire passages materialized fully developed because the preceding solitude had prepped neurological springs poised for release. Emulate the cycle. Reserve a 3-hour segment weekly. No electronics, no sound, just a leisurely stroll or a seat facing an unadorned wall. Initially, input cravings will surface, remain. When the impulse peaks, breathe and identify it, withdraw. Around the 90-minute bracket, novel ideas will ignite. A solution for a programming glitch, a punchline for a stalled poem, a business perspective, no brainstorming session uncovered. Resist the temptation to seize the phone, opt for a pocket notebook instead. Record bullet points, not complete passages. Allow the idea to breathe. Following this focused interval, re-enter the world gently. One peaceful coffee, a solitary article. Observe the mind's rebound, colors appear intensified, insights cluster, small challenges resolve themselves as you stir a spoon. This surge isn't mere chance, it's neurological compensation for silence. Schedule your next solitude session before this high dissipates, and the cycle intensifies. Over time, your creative baseline ascends, while peers entrenched in constant din question why their best work is overshadowed by insights you cultivated in silence. The next stage is severing every strand of validation that controls you like a marionette. Nietzsche contended that as long as one relies on the collective for approval, fear of exclusion maintains mediocrity. Identify your strongest pulls. Is it the seen notification on a message? A parent's disapproving glance? The dopamine rush when a post reaches hundreds of likes. Rank them from weakest to most compelling. Now initiate the 2-week invisibility challenge. First 40 to 8 hours, deactivate social apps you check reflexively or, at minimum, log out and conceal them in a folder labeled later. Inform no one but essential contacts. Day 3, omit one routine family call, send a brief text instead. Busy with a focus sprint, will connect soon. Next, in meetings, speak only to alter outcomes. No filler to reinforce presence. Throughout the fortnight, maintain a log of every instance you feel compelled to affirm your existence. Track your consciousness. Over the course of 2 weeks, maintain a diary where you meticulously document each time you feel an impulse to demonstrate your existence, whether online or in person. Record the specific moment, its catalyst, the physical sensation such as tension in your chest or restless fingers, and then resist the urge. By the 7th day, a transformation occurs. The absence of immediate validation shifts from feeling like a deficit to becoming additional mental space. You discern which opinions inexplicably hold sway, perhaps those of a colleague you're quietly in competition with, and which have faded into the background. Mark the persistent ones in red. These are the chains most restricting your liberty. Choose one to confront directly, share a draft still in progress with that colleague, and solicit feedback. Accept whatever is said without defending yourself. As the critique loses its sting, the tether weakens. By the 14th day, you'll have a detailed record of dependency cues and evidence that life progresses regardless. Your phone grows quieter, your schedule freer, while your mind feels fuller, a result of introspection. You didn't withdraw out of withdrawal, you did it to shift the dynamic of power. From this point forward, welcome validation only when it arrives naturally, making praise stick to an ego grounded in solitude-crafted foundation. Solitude is merely part of the equation, the rest is written in its silence. When others' voices fade, you're left with a fresh constitution, laws only of your own choosing. Nietzsche advised every thinker to construct a personal ethos, a series of definite yes and no decrees needing no consensus. Sit alone with a pen and a timer for 20 minutes. At the top of a blank page, boldly inscribe my non-negotiables. Without editing, list 10 concise statements beginning with I will or I will not. Keep them visceral and precise. I will not apologize for craving silence. I will complete every book I start, or quit before page 50, but never remain indecisive. I will exercise daily as long as my body is capable. I will not gossip, even if the room encourages it. I will speak last in meetings, unless silence impedes progress. Some rules protect your energy, others combat apathy. They should all feel like durable steel you're prepared to carry independently. When the timer finishes, read each line aloud. Observe which declarations resonate deeply and which seem lifted from motivational cliches. Eliminate the latter. Aim for 7 to 10 edicts that hit home with clarity. Write the final list on a small card that fits behind your phone case or inside a wallet. This secrecy is important. These are for you, not for demonstrating to others. Each morning, before interacting with any screens, read the card through once. At midday, when compliance lures you, trace the card's edge and silently repeat Rule 3 or 7. At night, evaluate yourself, count the instances you adhered to your principles and when you faltered. No self-criticism, just reflection. In a few weeks, a quiet boundary will form around your life. Invitations that clash with your code simply fade away without causing drama. Decisions become swifter because the criteria are pre-established. Self-respect arises not from applause but from understanding that you operate under rules crafted in solitude. Nietzsche called this self-legislation, the hallmark of an individual needing no external enforcement. From now on, each decision you make carries the authority of your self-imposed discipline, an authority given by none and retractable by none. Reintroduction is where solitude becomes leverage. Nietzsche spent months in seclusion on a mountain before mingling briefly with city crowds, using these occasions as a testing ground rather than a dwelling. The aim is to emerge, apply your refined perspective, and retreat before the collective noise dulls your edge. Schedule your re-entry as a tactical maneuver. Allocate a single afternoon for strategic interactions, one crucial meeting, one lunch, one public post, then maintain a blackout for the rest of the week. This limited access accomplishes 2 objectives: It preserves the clarity cultivated in solitude, and it amplifies your influence. Scarcity increases value. People pay closer attention when time is limited. Notice how the atmosphere shifts. Conversations you previously pursued may now seem mundane, cluttered with filler material you easily see through. Your pauses prompt others to fill the void. Your thoughtfully measured words leave a strong impact because listeners know they may not get another chance. This is presence transformed into magnetism, earned in solitude felt by many. Use each outing to assess your personal code. Does Rule 3, exercise daily, endure when travel upsets your routine? Does Rule 7, speak last unless silence impedes progress, still hold when meetings go astray? Any aspect that falters under stress indicates an area to refine in your next retreat to solitude. After 4 to 6 hours, exit deliberately. Avoid lingering for post-event chatter. Send a concise follow-up message, log valuable feedback, then vanish into your quiet space. Colleagues are left with a vivid impression and a desire for more. Meanwhile, you return to solitude with fresh insight and sustained focus. Continue this rhythm: deep withdrawal, impactful appearance, strategic withdrawal, and your influence will grow. Others never truly adapt to your presence, so the energy remains potent whenever you enter a room. You have become, as Nietzsche might say, a comet in the orbit of other stars, rarely seen yet unforgettable. Begin each day with a silent 15-minute walk. No phone, no podcasts, just the cadence of your steps and your breathing. Let the cool air envelop you. Notice thoughts arise, float, and dissipate like birds scattering at your approach. This is your daily greeting with solitude, reminding your nervous system you can move through life without clutching for noise. By midday, have one meal entirely by yourself. Carry only a small notebook and pen. As you eat, jot down whatever comes to mind: a phrase, a question, a charged word. Don't judge. By writing, you stabilize your inner state amidst the midday chaos. Once the meal is finished, close the notebook. It contains your private signal. The public never sees it. After sunset, turn off all screens for 1 solid hour. Let the digital glow fade until your surroundings feel pre-electric, just lamplight and quiet. Sit down at a desk or on the floor to write a brief letter to yourself 1 year into the future. Reflect on what today's silence revealed, what edge you polished, what fear you faced. Seal and date this letter. You are creating a time capsule of self-awareness, proof that deliberate nights amass unstoppable progress. Repeat these 3 practices: morning walk, solitary meal with a notebook, nightly digital blackout and letter, each day for a month. They weave a thread of tranquility through your schedule, transforming isolation into a private gym where your resilience becomes stronger with each session. When people inquire why your presence feels altered, just smile. They don't need to know that the most authoritative voice guiding you speaks only in quietude. Silence has ceased to be exile, it is your driving force. In the firmament of intentional solitude, you have shed borrowed identities, faced your shadow, fashioned a personal creed, and tested it during brief, incisive returns to society. Each morning walk, lone meal, and night blackout letter now layers like steel in your foundation. So here's the ultimate test. Disappear for an entire week from any realm feeding on your need for recognition. Social media, unmoderated group chats, even that well-meaning friend who calls at every idle moment. Keep only necessary work ties. During this period, adhere to the rituals you've cultivated, compile insights in your notebook, and come back next Monday with something tangible, a prototype, a draft chapter, enhanced physicality, clear personal boundaries, evidence that your power thrives in quiet. If you're ready, type "unstoppable" alone in the comments and subscribe for more existential tools for modern challenges. Recall Nietzsche's caution and assurance: those unable to stand in solitude return to the crowd with nothing novel. Stand apart long enough, and when you re-enter, the crowd will recognize and honor you.